A suggestion I've received frequently is for Cryomancers, aka ice users, in fighting games. I've generally given this idea the cold shoulder since I made a video on characters with ice manipulation powers years back, and I thought that was too similar of a topic. But thinking about it, that video I made was mostly a joke. I mean, I had the likes of Frosty the Snowman's hat and the Ice Cream Queen from Candyland on it. So for the special end of the year Walking in a Winter Wonderland themed list, I'll take a more serious look at the Cryomancers in fighting games. I've exclusively covered their icy stages in the past, so now it's time to spotlight the characters behind the arenas. The main criteria are the character's primary ability has to be ice themed and it has to involve most of their attacks, so I'm not looking at characters that just have one or two icy attacks and an arsenal of other elemental attacks. I want them to commit to the ice, also one character per series of origin. So let's kick some ice with the top 10 Cryomancers in fighting games. Number 10, Yuki from The Last Blade. Orphaned at a young age, Yuki was adopted by the warrior Gaisei and trained to wield the Naginata. And her ice powers come from? Never explained. I guess because the name Yuki translates to snow, everyone just assumed her name gives her superpowers. By that logic, everyone named Natsu has the power of summer, I suppose. My speculation is that her icy attacks come from her out-of-nowhere power that allows her to seal away all evil for the small price of her life. Aw, that ending is actually sad. Now I feel bad for making jokes. She channels ice and snow through her Naginata and has an impressive array of attacks. She brings the tundra by spinning her blade. She forms snowflakes much larger than your run-of-the-mill snowflake. Ice drills? Of course she has that, and she can also freeze you in ice briefly, but be prepared to hear about attacks like that throughout this whole list. Number 9, Mitsuru Kirijo from Persona 4 Arena. Mitsuru has that upper-class flair to her moveset, attacking with grace and also like she doesn't want the stench of commoners on her with how much she extends her limbs and sword to keep you at a distance. That being said, where's all her ice powers? All I see is her rapier sword and unaffordable fur coat. Well, that's because all of her cryomancy is done through her persona Artemisia. That's right, she doesn't channel ice through her own powers or weapons, she needs more help to make the ice, so I'm penalizing her for getting help from a goddess mid-match. Her wealth may be able to buy her a logic-defying super stretch limo, but it can't buy her a high ranking on this list. That being said again, Artemisia's ice powers are pretty great. She can go the impediment route and put up a floating mirror of ice to control space, or find a dozen other ways to encase you in a block of ice. Choose your favorite method, via whip, from the ground, getting icicles thrown at you. Expect to spend time as a popsicle when you fight Mitsuru. They make a great team since Mitsuru always finds a way to combo after Artemisia gives the opponent the old freeze and get over here. Or Mitsuru can just let her persona do all the work by freezing the other fighter over and over and over again until it only takes one simple sword strike to finish them.
An elegant finish.
Number 8, the Ice Climbers in Super Smash Bros. The Ice Climbers started off as an enemy of the ice. It was their obstacle in their game of origin, where they wanted to conquer the mountain by defeating the ice on their way up with old-fashioned hammers and teamwork. However, in the 15 or so years between their NES game and their first Smash Bros. Appearance, something changed. They honed their skills and became one with the ice, turning their greatest foe into their most useful tactic. They tamed those pesky sliding ice chunks that were used against them in their NES game, now showing everyone that they're property of the Ice Climbers, somehow creating them out of nothing by just swinging their hammers. Their other main ice power is their Hand Blizzard, that freezes any nearby foes by using an icy wind. Essentially, they just got TM16 from Price and Pokemon Crystal and used it on themselves.
Disclaimer, icy wind in Pokemon does not freeze, it only lowers speed. The joke only made sense in my head because the Ice Climbers literally use an icy wind. Sorry about that confusion.
Somehow, these standard mountain climbers learned cryomancy from their many years in the Arctic. Even their hammer swings now have an icy stream around them. And if that isn't impressive enough for these humble climbers, they can create a full glacier from the power of sheer family bonding. Most cryomancers have to spend their whole life training just so they can learn to form ice weapons the size of their own body, but combined, these warriors can create formations the size of a house by simply pursuing a hobby together? I can't even explain how they achieved this level of power.
The ice climbers have conquered frozen glaciers and dangerous mountaintops together. I think they've formed a bond that we can't even fathom.
Number 7. Sasquatch from Darkstalkers. You know, when I think of a Yeti, I see a big fuzzy monster man who could rip you to shreds and is all brute force, with the only thing that relates him back to ice is his habitat. Not the magic of cryomancy that is generally seen with superheroes or more mystical characters, or mountain climbers. However, the Yeti named Sasquatch combines his grappling and brawling with rather impressive ice manipulation. He seems to favor using cryomancy via his oral cavity. He can use Ice Beam and vomit up snow and blow you a kiss that shows no love, only pain. All those attacks result in freezing, so have fun getting hit by them, and if you do a good job blocking his freezing spit, he'll just take the more direct route and put you right in his mouth to bring you to the source of his ice abilities. His only ice attack that doesn't follow this pattern are his ice spikes, which still have the same freezing effect. Can't explain how he does this, I'll just chalk it up to Bigfoot magic. Regardless, Sasquatch's various ways to freeze you show us that he's more than just a strong foot. Number 6. Killer Frost in Injustice. When looking at the two ice users in the Injustice games, I ultimately went with Killer Frost since her icy attacks are her true powers, while Captain Cold just uses a cold gun. And if we play the semantics game, looking at the suffix mancer in Cryomancer means practitioner of a type of magic, so magic beats out technology here. I hope you enjoyed my riveting logic.
You ever shut up?
Every other Tuesday.
When I discussed Killer Frost on my ice manipulation list, I gave her high praise due to fire actually powering her up instead of debilitating her, unlike how other ice-powered characters in fiction generally have a weakness to fire to mimic heat melting ice. However, that aspect of her power cannot translate into a balanced fighting game, so it never comes into play. Instead, she plays the role of lackey to the main villains with miscellaneous ice attacks. She summons ice spikes, she freezes you, she summons more ice spikes, she freezes you some more, she throws ice swords, which are like spikes that you can hold, and she freezes you, then throws you on ice spikes. Oh, and she slides like a character from another NetherRealm Studios game. The moveset is actually fun to play despite my teasing. My favorite Easter egg in her attacks is during one of her throws, she'll quote my favorite line that she said in the Justice League cartoon.
You're a beautiful man.
Only in that episode, she doesn't break the guy out of the ice right after she freezes him. For all we know, he's still frozen and she has him in her trophy case right next to her ice throne. Number 5. Glacius from Killer Instinct. His origin differs depending on which Killer Instinct you go by. Originally, he was just an alien with ice powers fighting to stay alive, who did not ally with anyone. In Killer Instinct 2013, he was some sort of super elite intergalactic patrolman responding to a distress call from Earth. On his way there, he crash-landed in some Arctic area on Earth, which granted him ice powers. The reason being, his alien race apparently takes on attributes of its environment to adapt, so otherwise he's some flavorless jello man when in a basic unspecified area. As for his fighting style, it's half ice and half body formations. He has the body structure of a Wendy's Frosty, where he's not quite a solid and not quite a liquid. Or I guess jello to use my previous example, or like one of those squishy ice packs, or like snot. There are a lot of comparable things. The point is, his malleable body is kinda like slush, so all his body constructs that he forms out of pure willpower are kind of like ice manipulation. I think everyone's favorite body formation is his puddle punch, where he turns into Nickelodeon Gak and then uppercuts his opponent. His use of ice creation is not about freezing you, but more about creating whatever he feels like. His favorite things seem to be these basic ice shards and spikes and ice armor for himself. However, if he feels like it, he'll pull out the classic move that most fighting game cryomancers love and encase you in ice. Number 4. Iceman in the Marvel vs. Capcom series. Being the superhero whose name says he's all about the ice, he must have some of the most impressive ice abilities we've seen so far. Let's see what we have. The Ice Beam, the Ice Ground Spike, the explosion of many chunks of ice. I think I've seen all these attacks already. How do you rank higher than all the other characters with a similar moveset?
The battle for survival begins.
Alright, his intro is one of the best in fighting games. He sculpts his name in ice and then emerges from it. It's like a professional wrestling entrance. It'd be great if he made more complex sculptures as actual attacks, but effectiveness over style, I suppose. My favorite attack from Iceman is his avalanche. I can't really explain why I like it. It's like a more chill version of Hulk's Gamma Crush, and as simple as it is, I like his idle pose. It shows how battle-ready he is. His hands pulsate with ice, prepared to make any ice constructs in an instant. Or just showboat, whatever he feels like, really. Number 3, Gene Kisaragi from BlazBlue. It's all in the weapon for Gene. He has an ice sword that makes other ice swords that can fly, and then he jumps on the ice and surfs like a cool guy. His sword, Yuki, if I pronounced that correctly, is made of an ice that can never melt, so freezing someone has never been easier. Besides the fact that it freezes you and freezes you more and super freezes you, its powers are explained beyond just saying it's cold. The magic of the sword allows it to absorb water from the air and freeze it to create various formations of ice. It's like the magic creates science. Besides the chilling attacks, he has an icy personality to go along with his theme, not seeming to care about anyone and being an occasional jerk.
Worthless scum.
He has the audacity to say he has no likes. Come on, you gotta have something you like. Wintertime, combing your hair, Tsubaki, give me something to work with. Number 2, Kula Diamond from King of Fighters. Kula's just a normal girl who has been imbued with ice powers and murderous intent. How cute. She started off as a villain experiment puppet of the evil organization Nests, who was meant to destroy the escaped Nests experiment K-Dash. However, she was snapped out of it with K-Dash's help and became your standard run-of-the-mill normal girl with deadly ice powers and no murderous intent. She also has a massive sweet tooth. She keeps the giant rainbow lollipop industry in business with her necessity for them. Also, the ice girl loves ice cream, or is it just normal cream to her? Nests may have been horribly evil, but their best contribution to society was Kula, since she probably has the biggest arsenal of ice powers I've seen. She's an aficionado of ice spikes and more ice spikes. Her snowflakes are large and painful. Don't pull a Berlin and take her breath away because it freezes you. Build up enough meter and she fills the screen with ice. And she's got great hair. I'm not sure if that's from her ice powers or just a bonus power, but I love hair manipulation, so she gets extra points from me. And then you have her ice shield, which I've always liked even though it looks about as brittle as sugar. Though my favorite aspect of her moveset is she combines her cryomancy with ice skating. Now watch as she gracefully controls her motions and enhances her mobility as she spawns an icy path below her feet. Not to mention ice skates are sharp and lethal on their own, so great job Kula, you have the smartest footwear choice of everyone on this list. Honorable mentions time. Weiss from BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. I like her ground explosions of ice. Colleen from Street Fighter. I'm kinda surprised it took Street Fighter until 2017 for them to add a pure ice-themed character. They've had fire everywhere, electricity, wind, even a bit of earth. But outside of Gil, no one's ever utilized ice, and he couldn't even dedicate all of his time to the ice art by splitting it with fire. Colleen likely received her ice abilities from the aforementioned Gil and has some great looking ice attacks that are elegant but not overly flashy. She's definitely my favorite newly playable character of Street Fighter V, and Frost from Mortal Kombat. Her design was always great with those literal frosted tips and the rest of her hair. Mortal Kombat saw how successful their main Cryomancer was, so they decided to expand that archetype with a pupil of said Cryomancer. And who could that character be that influenced Frost? Why, it's none other than number 1, SubZero from Mortal Kombat. SubZero is technically a code name since two different characters have donned the title, both brothers. However, one of the two brothers has owned the name SubZero by being the main SubZero in all but one main series Mortal Kombat game. In the first Mortal Kombat, it was the older brother Bi-Han, who was an assassin for the Lin Kuei ninja clan. He froze you in ice, he slides, and that was the extent of his special moveset. After that, he was killed by Scorpion and revived as the Wraith Noob Saibot, abandoning his former life as a Cryomancer. He was framed by Quan Chi to have killed Scorpion's family and clan, leading to Scorpion hunting him down, but with Bi-Han's personality, you wouldn't be surprised if he did it anyway. From Mortal Kombat 2 onwards, his younger brother Kuai Liang was the SubZero the story followed.
SubZero wins flawless victory.
Kuai Liang used to go by the name Tundra, but wanted to use his brother's likeness to honor him after his death and give the developers a reason to essentially have the same SubZero in the game despite killing him off in a previous entry. Then Kuai Liang learned his brother was kind of an ass now and maybe not deserving of all the honor bestowed upon him, but he kept the title of SubZero anyway for the sake of consistency. Though he improved greatly on his brother's cryomancy techniques, finding many ways to freeze someone. Freeze the ground for varying effects, like making your opponent stick to the floor or just making them slip and look silly. Take to the sky and make it rain. Freezing rain. Put the greatest ice sculptors to shame as you create an ice clone in seconds that is so cold to the touch that any form of contact freezes you. Or maybe use that ice to kill people, like arrogantly exhaling on your foe. Whoops, that was my cold breath and not normal CO2? My bad. Or just use your normal freeze attack, but somehow this time it follows the laws of physics and shatters your body.
SubZero wins. Fatality.
He also has harnessed ice to create weapons galore, with his favorites being an ice dagger, ice hammer, and his main weapon, the ice sword, which has changed various times over the years. Most of these break mid-combo though, so it's a good thing he can infinitely make more. Story-wise, Kuai Liang accomplished even greater feats. While the first SubZero helped fend off against Shinnok prior to the events of Mortal Kombat 1, this SubZero took control of his Lin Kuei ninja clan, turning them from assassins for hire that forcefully turned their own members into cyborgs, into a noble group of warriors that would defend Earthrealm from evil.
You and your friends show much promise, Cassandra Cage. But until you function as one, you will fall short.
An even bigger accomplishment was he settled the longtime rivalry with Scorpion's clan, the Shirai Ryu, which helped Earthrealm gain a powerful new ally. Also, he was a cyborg at one point, but this segment is getting too long, so another time. Anyway, SubZero, the original Cryomancer in fighting games who started off with just an ice ball and a dream, gets the top spot on this list. So what did you think? Were these characters cold enough for ya, or were there a few characters that I left on ice? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.